Okay, in this video, I'd like to continue where I left off in last video, talking about the object that was shot down over Lake Huron on Super Bowl Sunday 2023. This incident happened not far from here in Rogers City, Michigan, and there's a whole lot to this story that they're not telling you because there's a whole lot going on in this area that if you link all the pieces together, you can see what the puzzle really is. So I'm here to break it down for you some more. Let's get into it. Okay, and here's Rogers City on the map of Michigan, right off of Lake Huron. As a reference, this is the Mackinac Bridge. And there's a lot of activity going on here. This is I-75. This is the Mackinac Bridge. This is the Straits of Mackinac. This is Lake Huron. This is Lake Michigan. What's going on is this whole thing is being used as a system. So what they're doing is they're using the Mackinac Bridge as a 5-mile long steel antenna in the system. The system is using ELF, extremely low frequency. It's like a bass wave. So what this whole thing is doing is it's acting just like the HAARP array in Alaska and the neutrino detector in Antarctica. It's the same thing with those two array systems that they're doing here with the Mackinac Bridge and these ELF frequencies. So the ELF can actually mimic torsion field when everything zeroes out. So we're gonna get into this whole thing, but this is what I was told, and why I even know this is because when I was living in town at Rogers City, the Charter Communications cable hub was right next to the house that I was renting. And the Charter Communications cable guy and I would talk. One day he told me that he had a spectrum frequency analyzer in his car. So when he would drive across the Straits of Mackinac, he said that his spectrum frequency analyzer would light up like a Christmas tree going off. And I asked him why. He said because there's so many frequencies being blasted across the straits here that it just sets it off. I asked him what they told him it was, and he said that the government was using it to have communications with subs deep at sea. So they're bouncing signals off of the ionosphere, off the surface of the lake, and they keep propagating that out till they can talk to their submarines in the ocean. So that's their cover story for this whole thing. But as we know with the HAARP array and the neutrino detector array, that they can both be used as offensive weapons and have other capabilities, such as producing earthquakes, detecting portals, detecting the torsion field that's given off from the craft, because this is all the same stuff. It's dielectricity, it's faster than light, it's the opposite electromagnetism. There's no wave function going on in the dielectricity. It's straight longitudinal, it's not transverse. So this whole thing is basically being used as a system for weather control and manipulation. It's being used for communication, like they're telling you. But it's also being used as an offensive weapon because this also has energy beam capabilities to shoot down objects. Plus it has the capabilities of mind control because it can get your brain to actually ride onto a secondary carrier wave and it'll slip right into the stream. So this whole thing is a continuation of what they were doing back in the 1940s with the Philadelphia experiment, trying to make a warship disappear. Supposedly they made it disappear and teleport and then reappear. And they've been working on this ever since. So that was called Project Rainbow. Well, they're doing the exact same thing here on Lake Huron with the continuation of Project Rainbow. What they're doing is they're using all these electronic means to manipulate stuff, along with certain geometries in the area to help boost all this stuff. So not far west from us, you have this huge triangle or this pyramidal structure in the land. And Rogers City in itself is super anomalous because it has, or had at one time, the world's largest limestone quarry. I don't think it's the top anymore, but it's still near the top. So there's a huge man-made negative or an artificial dielectric that's been created in the ground here. So magnetism would be positive, like most of the ground around here. Then you would have a negative, which would be like a dielectric or dielectricity. So when that happens, it's like a black hole, and this vortex motion starts to go counterclockwise. That's what this whole thing's dealing with, because when it's going counterclockwise, it's doing 0.618 instead of going Fibonacci 1.618 to the right, where you would have creation going towards the right. Towards the left, you're going counterclockwise, and it's dematerialization or destruction. So you're dealing with these two things. And this is how your power lines are operating that are feeding your house. It's operating off these principles of the dielectric field, which has magnetism on the hot end of it and dielectricity on the cold end of it with a plane of inertia in between. It's like a black hole would be the dielectricity, a white hole would be the magnetism, and your event horizon would be your plane of inertia. So it's the same thing, positive, negative, neutral, because everything's triplicate in how everything is operating here. So Rogers City is a super unique spot because, like I've pointed out before, they give us the number 13. That's the Illuminati signature on this whole thing. Rogers City is also unique because it has a Catholic church, the only one in town. Its name is St. Ignatius of Loyola. Now, Ignatius of Loyola was the guy who founded the Order of the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the military arm of the Vatican. So this has ties to the elites and the higher up in government. It's a major deal. It's a city of less than 4,000, but it's just like my channel. The smaller the space, the higher the capacitance. It packs a lot of punch. So what they're doing here and have been working on in this area is this transmission line replacement project. So they're putting all these poles in with high voltage. So what they're doing here is they're showing you their Illuminati signature on this thing once again. Here you have a 22-mile stretch of 177 poles. So your 22 and your 77 are master numbers. And then they show you once again the start date of the project, November 22nd, 2020. So your 22 and your 22 are your master numbers. That's their markings on it. So what they're doing is they put these power line transmission poles and they strung them all up along here, 22 miles. And they're feeding it from this way right now. But they're gonna restring this other leg of it now and go back the other way and then feed it from this way. So you're running electromagnetism one way and then you're running electromagnetism the other way. So this is gonna create its own deal once this whole thing gets going, but it's not going yet because all this stuff is kind of in the beta testing phase. So with all this stuff, what they're doing on the lake, they're showing you everything right in plain sight in the paper. Okay, so when they're bouncing all these ELF waves off of the lake and off of the ionosphere, what they're doing is it's reflecting. So the water reflects super good. And these rainbows right here, if you were to look at these two things separately, you would think maybe nothing of it. But if you look at them together, I'm going to show you that there's a whole lot to it. And this just didn't happen by chance. These are a rainbow test. So what they were doing is they're constantly testing all their systems. And what they did here, here's a shot from April 1st, 2021. Okay, this is looking straight out over the lake at Rogers City, just a few blocks back from the boat harbor. Okay, now when you look at this one, this is from October 28th, 2021. You might not think nothing of it. It might just look like another rainbow that just appeared. But when you look at the two together, you can see that this one is from the fall, or excuse me, this one's from the spring, and this one is from the fall. So this is taken at two separate times, but if you were to connect these two pictures, you would see that these rainbows are actually landing at the same exact point, the same exact spot, the same area here, and that is the boat harbor, the marina at Rogers City. Okay, this is a key point. So this is 2021. These rainbows are dead ending right here. Okay, I'd also like to point out that I'm one of the witnesses to them doing the testing of the jets flying over Rogers City right when they first got the very first cell phone tower put in town. I'm walking right along the road and they kept flying jet after jet after jet in a circle. And we heard them looping for days way, way up high. Well, when I was walking down this road, they were flying directly over it. And this is where I witnessed them vanishing the jets over Rogers City and then reappearing them back out over Lake Huron. And they kept flying all these jets in a loop. And this was a year or so prior to the MH370 plane vanishing. This is also the same road in the same time frame that I had witnessed a pinkish red UFO gliding silently over the treetops at night back towards El Pina Airport or the Combat Readiness Center. So there's a lot that's going on in this area. With this whole thing is pretty wild because, like I said, those rainbows were ending up at the Rogers City boat harbor, at the marina. So that was in 2021, these rainbows here. So here in 2022, so fast forward 1 year from there, Gretchen Whitmer shows up. Guess where she shows up at? The Rogers City Marina, or boat harbor, to hold a press conference here. She has this secret meeting, nobody knew she was coming, and holds this small little round table with the mayor and a couple business people in town. You can see the Illuminati stuff that they got laid out here. You can see the symbolism here. it's no coincidence. There's only consciousness that she showed up at this spot where all these rainbow tests are ending up. It's a key. Rogers City is a key. So here they're showing you from June 2022, right in our local paper, they're doing high-tech data collection in Lake Huron. So they're mapping out the bottom of Lake Huron now. All this mapping, just like in the ocean, didn't start until after MH370 went missing. They started mapping everything. We'll get into this more later. So this boat here, it's an unmanned deal, submergible, and it's out mapping, and it can run for a long time. What they're telling you here is that it's run by the United States Geological Survey Great Lakes Science Center. It's called the Gobi Bot. It's an autonomous underwater vehicle. So what this, it's part of a system. This whole thing is part of this system. He says, and he's telling you right what they can do. They can put transmitters in fish as small as 2-inch gobies. So that's what they're doing. They're putting all these fish out, and then they swim to really deep depths in the lake here. And then they just become nodal points. So they're tracking everything. They can monitor everything, and they're mapping everything. So there's a whole lot going on in this area of northern Michigan that they're not telling you, and I'm continue to share this story. Thanks for watching.